Hi, my name is Robin May. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about something a little bit different and highly requested. We are going to be talking about all things movement. Okay, so how you work out, your fitness journey, what my fitness journey has been, and all of the pillars that I think are very important in shaping a healthy relationship with movement. I just want to start off by saying that I grew up as a very competitive athlete, okay? I played hockey for 15 years. I was on the ice 4 to 5 times a week. I also played every sport you could play in high school, from flag football, volleyball, soccer, and there was basically not a day in the week that I did not exercise. I took fitness class. I had multiple gym programs that I was in, so I was very, very active. And as I became an adult, as I went to university, I realized how dependent my relationship with movement was on the sports that I was playing. And there were so many amazing things that I learned and truly shaped me as a person through sports. But it was also very humbling when I went to university and started actually adulting and realizing that I couldn't only rely on my sports to move my body. The hardest thing for me was really getting over the pressure of trying to maintain or return to a physique that I once had because I was so active, to adulting, changing, maturing, becoming a woman, all of that. And all of it kind of happening suddenly was very, very, very hard for me. Not to mention that I also got into the modeling realm during that time of my body changing, and the pressure of that also is a whole other story that we can talk about. But really the focus is on having a less transactional relationship with movement. So if you are currently only relying on movement for an outcome, whether that's weight loss, whether that's to justify your diet, whatever it is, if you are solely relying on movement as a means to an outcome, you are probably going to struggle with consistency. And if you're someone struggling to move your body, I want you to shift your perspective, because it's probably not that you hate moving your body. You probably hate the pressure that comes with it. You know, the understanding that if you're moving your body, you should probably look a certain way, or you should be flexible, or you should have these results, and the pressure that's associated with that is probably what's actually getting in the way of your movement habit. The biggest reframe for me has been, how do I turn movement from being something that's high pressure and only derived around an outcome? How do I change that to becoming something that is actually a ritual, something that I want to return to, and something that I'm not willing to negotiate with? We've talked about this time and time again on my channel. A ritual is something that you do because it grounds you and because it connects you back with yourself. And yes, I'm not naive. Movement can absolutely change your body. It can change your life, and it definitely directly affects your health. But I believe that the more you release the outcome, the more you're going to actually enjoy the movement. And I'm a firm believer that enjoyment is what creates consistency. So you're probably asking, okay, well, how do I make movement something that I enjoy? And I have 4 pillars that I believe have the most impact on returning to movement. First things first, where you move matters. Now, this does not mean you need an expensive gym membership, although if that is your vibe, totally do that. If you find a space that you love returning to and it is within your means and you can support that, absolutely do that. I personally am a ClassPass user. I love ClassPass, okay? I love being able to go to different spaces and keeping my environment fresh. I love trying out new classes, new group exercises, and new instructors. And I feel like it's the best way, if you're in a trial and error phase of movement, to figure out what you really like. You can try yoga, Pilates, box gyms, bar classes, Legree, spin. There's so much variety, and I feel like it is a very cost-effective way to figure that out. So if you are still in the early stages of figuring out how you even like to move your body, what exercise you enjoy, ClassPass is really amazing and quite affordable. But nonetheless, the space that you move your body at, again, it doesn't have to be in a studio or a gym. This can also be something you do at home, and it needs to be something that you want to return to. So maybe you light a special candle. Maybe you have a little nook where that's where you place your mat. Find somewhere that you love to physically be. Like, you cannot wait to physically be in that space. And if you can find that, I think moving your body will feel even easier, because getting through the door or getting to that place of working out is usually the hardest part. Once you're in the room or in the space, everything else kind of just starts to flow naturally. So your environment is incredibly important, and it is something that I truly think if you can invest in that. Again, it doesn't mean an expensive studio or gym. It could just mean a little sanctuary or nook that you create even in your own home. It really does make a difference. When you're thinking about this environment, I want you to think less about where should I work out and think more about where do I feel calm? Where do I feel safe? Where do I feel myself? And whatever environments come up when you think about that is probably where you should move your body. Okay, pillar number 2. How you move your body and who you move your body with. So like I said, if you are still in the early trial and error phases of movement, ClassPass could be a great resource for just finding out what movement forms you like. I know for myself, I love group fitness. That is because of my team sport background. So I love being in the room. I love when the effort syncs up. I also like sometimes like the competitive aspect of feeling the best at what I do. So that's why I love group workouts. However, even though I love group workouts, I don't always love working out with a buddy. And some people thrive working out with a buddy and they need that accountability partner. And I actually feel that way sometimes. I do have friends that I like to bring to workouts to keep me accountable for showing up, but I don't necessarily like to have a shared workout experience, if that makes sense. So like, if I was going to the gym to do a leg day, for example, I would much prefer to do that solo than to do it with a friend and go back and forth and switch on and off. I don't mind doing it though if I'm teaching my friend something, like if it's kind of me being a coach and them following me. But I think like the back and forth I don't love. I also just feel like it gets distracting for me, and I do feel like it is a small portion of the day that I actually have completely to my lonesome. So I actually like being alone when I'm moving my body. So I think knowing this about yourself is very, very, very important, because it's going to shape your excitement and your energy towards the movement. Are you dreading it because you know your friends there and it feels very performative and you feel like you have to show up a certain way even though that might not be the mood you're in? All of these things affect your relationship with movement, whether it's directly or indirect. So knowing your boundaries is really, really important. Now, on the other hand, maybe you're somebody who actually has never done group workouts before and you think it might be what you're missing. If you dread going to the gym because you feel very lonely or you feel unsure or you feel intimidated, maybe group exercise or having a movement buddy actually is the perfect thing for you. If you still don't know this yet about yourself, your focus really needs to be noticing the emotions and the feelings that are coming up when you're moving your body. So when you're in a group setting, are you feeling overstimulated? Are you feeling intimidated? Does it make you feel shy? Does your mind feel very busy because you're anxious? And if you're solo working out, if you're working out solo, do you find it easy to skip your movement? Find yourself skipping sections of your movement? Are you saying you're gonna do 30 minutes and then you only do 10 minutes? Are you spending majority of the time on your phone? These are good indicators of what might be working and what might not be working. The biggest takeaway for who you move your body with and how you move it is understanding that discipline is not forcing yourself into someone else's routine. It's honoring the way that you operate. Don't compromise here, because this compromise might actually be the reason why you are feeling inconsistent. Okay, pillar number 3, what you are consuming while you're moving your body. So here we're gonna talk all about music and stimulation. First thing I wanna say, music can be a very important tool with your movement. Sometimes it's the perfect stimulant to get us through movement that we're not excited about. So for me, for example, I started doing the Stairmaster every single day for 30 days back in January, and music was very essential to this. And I have noticed for years now, I also teach spin, so music is very, very important to me when it comes to moving my body. I haven't noticed through years of teaching and taking classes how much movement can impact effort, and when music can make effort higher, and when music can also be used to be a more reflective and calming energy. And in spin we call these peaks and valleys, and this is very, very important in your playlist to have peaks and valleys, because you need to be able to ground yourself and you also need to be able to motivate yourself. So having a good balance of grounding and motivation really makes the perfect playlist. I will be making a separate video just on playlists alone, so don't worry, that will be here as a resource for you. As much as music is an amazing stimulant, sometimes silence is actually better. And I really love moments of silence when I want to reconnect with my breath, when I want to set an intention, and when I just need to almost turn my brain off. Sometimes when it comes to movement, you need to think less and just do. I think that can be intimidating to sit with our thoughts while we move our body, but you'll actually start to recognize how much more you're able to focus on the movements when you're not being stimulated. For example, maybe this is weird, but I love to run with no music. I think because of my rhythmic experience, I found that when I ran with music, I was running to the beat of the music, and I was actually tiring myself out quicker because my pace was changing every kilometer between songs. And so I started to run without music and just really pay attention to my breath, my form. And if I was going to listen to anything, I would have random motivational prompts that would play every few minutes. You can get this through the Nike Run app. It's very underrated. It's literally silent, and then every few kilometers it will be like, okay, you're at kilometer 1. I know this might feel hard, keep pushing here. And just a little bit of motivation really helped, and the silence in between just helped me connect with my breath, focus on the movement. The biggest takeaway from this is knowing when to let music lead you and when to let your body lead you, and find a balance, because it doesn't mean you need to be at opposite sides of the spectrum. I think finding a middle point that works for you is amazing. And maybe you are someone who can do 45 minutes of exercise with music playing the whole time, because I do that in my spin classes. It's absolutely necessary. There's no moment of silence really in spin, but knowing how to control your energy through music, I think, is a skill that is very, very, very underrated. The other thing I'll briefly touch on outside of music, I also do sometimes enjoy listening to podcasts or watching a YouTube video while I'm doing steady state cardio. I would not do this when I'm doing any other sort of movement, but when I'm doing the Stairmaster for 30 minutes, I'm not doing any intervals or changing the speed. I actually found that the times that I've been able to stay on it the longest has been when I am stimulated by a podcast or distracted by a TV show or something like that. I'm not opposed to this at all. Honestly, whatever makes you consistent and continue to show up is what I want you to do. The first time I ever did 60 minutes on the Stairmaster, it was because I did 30 minutes of a podcast and then 30 minutes I spent watching a video that I needed to edit and just watching the whole thing through to see if there was any notes I wanted to add. And I was on there for an hour and it was amazing. Okay, so the fourth and final pillar we're going to talk about today is recovery. It is actually your opportunity to tell your nervous system that you enjoyed what you just did. And if your nervous system remembers this feeling, it will be so much more likely to want to return to it. The most important thing I want you to leave with when it comes to recovery is that this is not about rewarding yourself. I know that sounds weird. I know that's probably different than what a lot of people say, but I don't want your relationship with movement to be solely dependent on the outcome or the reward. However, there are activities or things that you can do post-workout that are enjoyable, and that is what is important, is do you enjoy it? The difference between enjoyment and rewarding is that you're not withholding anything from yourself just so that it's associated with movement. So for example, let's say you do 30 minutes on the Stairmaster and your recovery routine is having dinner and then having a cookie after. I don't want the cookie to only be associated with the fact that you did the Stairmaster today. I want you to have a cookie whenever you want to have a cookie. Whether you did the Stairmaster or not, if you enjoy having cookies, enjoy having cookies. Does that make sense? Now, I know food is a whole other topic that we can get into, and when you're moving your body a lot, you might want to modify your diet to, again, then shape some of the physical results that you might want to see. But as long as we're not only moving to see those results or only eating to see those results, I think the relationship is healthy. Well, some recovery examples outside of food that I think are very important for your ritual is stretching, sauna, the shower you take after, maybe some moments of meditation. Something that I've been really looking forward to after my workout is taking a shower. I don't turn the lights on. All I do is light a candle, and it's almost meditative. Like, I'm still showering, but I get into this more meditative state. I get to reflect a lot on what I did for the day. I reflect on what I did for the movement, and it's just a very calming energy. Something that might take this over the top for you is having a special soap that you use for your post-workout. And maybe it has added benefits, like it's good for if you get body acne, or it's exfoliating, or there's obviously some other benefits that are great to use after workout. But I think having a routine post exercise and movement that you look forward to just shapes the whole experience. This is not about creating a reward, like I said. What it's really about is creating a system. And when you have made a system that you can trust, and your body feels cared for, it stops resisting movement. And a supportive recovery is going to let your nervous system know that you are safe. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this entire video is that none of these pillars are rewards. They are actually just support. And over time, they stop feeling like routines or steps, and they start to just feel like your rhythm. And that way you don't need to rely on motivation forever. And you also don't need to rely on discipline. It just starts to become who you are. And that's when discipline stops feeling rigid and like punishment and starts to feel a lot more feminine and soft. I have noticed that when you stop moving to change your body and start moving to connect with it, everything shifts. And if you've noticed, I've even stopped referring to moving my body as working out, because when I think about working out, I dread that. When I think about moving my body, I get excited. So maybe even a language shift is all you need to do. So from here on out, I want you to ask yourself how you can move your body, how you can move in a way that you'll be excited even on your busiest days, even when you feel like you don't have time. And if you can find out what that is for you, that's when movement will shift from being a workout to a ritual. Okay. Well, that is it for me today. I have been really excited to make this video because it has been something I've been reflecting on very deeply. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, please share with me how you're enjoying moving your body, or any recoveries or music you've been loving. I would love to share mine. Like I said, we are going to have a whole playlist making video specifically for Stairmaster or cardio. And again, if you want to know anything else, hear my thoughts about anything, always let me know. You can find me short form on Instagram and TikTok. You can find me writing on Substack, and then of course here on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video or anything resonated with you, please subscribe, and I will see you all very soon.